This is Mark and Charity's Coffee Podcast.
Mark and Charity's Coffee Podcast for Cinco de Mayo, Thursday, May 5th today. I thought it was Wednesday for the first 3 minutes of the show. Got thrown for a loop. It's been that kind of a week, I think.
Well, yeah, we've kind of had a few, I wouldn't say hiccups, but yesterday we were late, and I had a wicked dream on Tuesday. And then
weird.
Today you thought it was Wednesday.
I thought it was
There's a
Wednesday.
full moon on Tuesday.
See, don't tell me that.
No, sorry, a week from.
Yes.
There's
There's
so
a
I can't
full
even
moon
blame
later
that.
on this month.
Okay, so this month we're going to have a full moon, and I blame the full moon. Although I am curious, and I meant to ask this on air. So the last couple of mornings I've been driving to work, speaking of the sky, there are two, and I believe they're planets, to the east.
Okay.
Kind of northeast when I'm coming, and they're bright and they're perfectly in line with each other.
You think one of them must be Venus?
I was trying to find out what planets they were. They both have to be planets, just the way they're lined up and
Right.
and how bright they are. But I was curious. It struck me this morning when I was coming in.
We'll have to look that
I
up.
wonder what that is.
What if that would be on the internet? Well, I'm going to look that up for you.
But yeah, Venus and Jupiter, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to see what's going on in space this month.
Yeah.
In the sky.
Interesting.
It will
I
caught
love
my
that stuff.
attention.
When we go up to Algonquin in the summer, we go to Canis Bay, the provincial park. And if you've ever stayed at that one, their beach overlooking the lake faces due north.
So you'd see northern lights.
Right. So we would go at 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
And we would lie on the beach and just stare up. And when it's a clear night, there is literally about 1 billion stars within eye view, right at the Big Dipper and beyond. And you can see the Milky Way, you can see the path of it. It's
Clearly,
just gorgeous, gorgeous. And the shooting stars. And so for about 2 nights a year, I think, why don't I own a telescope? Those are my 2 nights.
There's an app.
Yeah, and somebody had the app, and they were holding it up.
Yeah, and it'll tell you the constellations.
Exactly. It didn't work.
Oh, really?
It didn't work for us that night. I don't know why, but you're absolutely right.
Because that is pretty cool. It'll line it out and show you what stars. Because that is.
Don't do that while you're driving, though.
Star seeking or watching the stars up north is spectacular. We don't go as far as Algonquin, Lake St. Peter, but yes,
still,
it's not as bright, right? You don't have the urban glow, so it's so much darker, and you see so many more. It's beautiful, and now we're getting into that time of year, right?
People are going to be out summer.
Camping and back up there, and it's going to be great.
Spend some time looking up outdoors in the dark. It's
or
gorgeous.
for watching for baseballs. If you're
Holy
at the
smokes!
stadium.
That one little gesture.
Oh my gosh!
That Toronto Blue Jays fan did for that little gaffer who's 9 years old has made the world a better place.
Oh, I thought I would be bombarded by Star Wars yesterday. This video of that catch is everywhere, myself included. You sat here and watched me watch it for I don't know how many minutes yesterday.
What are you watching? You're getting
I know, I'm teary-eyed, and it's
what are you watching?
But it's the little boy getting handed the ball, struck by his favorite player. So Aaron
Judge
hit the home run. A Jays fan caught it up in the upper level, way up there, turned around and gave it to, as you said, 9-year-old boy who was wearing a Judge shirt.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out this morning, he had talked to the child earlier.
Yeah, we
before
found out
the
a little
game.
bit more. Before that, Derek Rodriguez is a little boy's name. So the fella who went to the game, he and his buddy were going down to their seats and saw what turned out to be the father and son.
Yeah.
And his first thought as he turned his way, he says, oh, great, we're sitting with Yankees fans. Well, good luck traveling anywhere where they're playing the Yankees. Yankees fans travel everywhere.
Yeah.
So he said to the kid before the game, because this guy, the Toronto fan, loves to sit in that area.
Mike Lanzalotta.
Mike, right.
Yeah.
So he wants to sit there because batting practice, you'll often end up with a ball.
Yeah.
Or occasionally a left fielder will throw one up to you, like a puck pre-game, right? You'll see hockey players do that. And the kid explained it didn't. And Mike had turned to the kid and said, I'm going to try and get you a ball. So he already kind of had that responsibility in mind, like I'm going to help this kid out.
Yeah.
Because it's just a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
Didn't happen, of course, till Judge hits a home run. So that's why it looks like, why did the guy catch it and immediately hand it? It didn't look, it's almost like he knew there was a kid there. Well, yeah, he knew it. And he made it part of what he wanted to do in the game was to get the kid the ball. That's even better. So which means if he had never gotten the ball, at least this guy was nice enough to think that way. So it just seems so automatic when he got it. And then they got down to meet Aaron Judge and sit on the Yankees
that's the
bench
follow-up
yesterday.
to it. Because after the game, of course, Judge, who's playing, didn't know. So they told him the story. He's like, that's a really cool, I'll have to watch the video. That's a really cool story. I love that. That's what ball's all about. Blah, blah, blah. I said a whole bunch of great sound clips. And then yesterday, he came through. And there they are in the dugout with Aaron Judge, Derek Rodriguez, and his family, as well as Mike Lanzalotta. And they got down and Aaron got to talk to them. And then Jays went as far as well to give Mike Lanzalotta, because they thought, you know what, that's a great gesture. We're going to give you a signed George Springer jersey.
Right.
So I'm assuming that's who he was wearing. I'm going to assume that's what Mike's
Why
favorite.
not?
Yeah.
Sure. Or maybe it said, who do you want?
Yeah.
And he said, who you got?
Yeah. I'd love Springers.
Yeah.
So they gave him a signed Springer. But there's a great photo, and I put both stories up on my Facebook page, of the four of them. I believe that's his brother, young Derek's brother, and then Aaron, Judd, and Mike all sitting together.
So good.
It's such a great story. Such a great story.
Just before doing the podcast, I was looking at it again and some of the reaction, because I knew we would talk about it. And it's literally around the world, the comments. This is what I love, the fact that it happened in Canada, because what somebody had made the point of, because, for example, if that had been in Boston, I'm not knocking Boston, I'm just saying that's their biggest rival. The thing in baseball now is that if you're the home team and the visitor hits a home run, you throw the ball back. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Yeah, throw the ball back. Started in Chicago. Cubs would do it. So somebody hits a home run, the visiting team, your job is to throw it back in the field. We're not going to keep it. It's like right? Okay. Somebody had said, we need to stop doing that and start giving the ball to a child. They said this should start this. If you want to protest a home run by a visiting team, give the ball to a kid and make his whole life.
Yeah, because what's this little kid going to take away from this wonderful experience? And I said this to you because we plan on taking the kids to a ball game this summer. It'll be their first ball game, but I'm honestly a little worried and concerned, whether or not it's going to be a good experience. Because unfortunately, this just happened recently. We went to a sporting event, and the people behind us were cursing. They were loud. They made it very uncomfortable for me to be sitting there with my children. And they saw my children. It was quite clear my children were in front of them, and they didn't
stop them.
Care. And that bothers me.
Sure it does.
This isn't an adult-only event. This is a family event. And there's kids everywhere. It's not going to kill you for 3 hours to, quote unquote, behave like an adult.
In public.
So to see this on TV as a parent, I think what a wonderful human being he is, because now he has given my child this experience that they will carry with them forever and help shape them into a kinder, giving person. And more people need to be like that. Yeah. It's amazing.
It was great. No, it was good. So great story. And we'll see. It's got to follow up. I can't imagine Major League Baseball itself isn't going to turn that into promos or something to try and capitalize on, hey, let's get kids to the ballpark, because
Jays couldn't do better for PR.
Oh my gosh. No, it's true. It's true.
Or Yankees, for that matter.
Because Major League Baseball's attendance is declining.
Yeah.
And like so many other things, you know how you get it back? Bring your kids. Make it easy to bring your kids. You make them baseball fans for life. Then when they grow up to be adults, they bring their kids.
They have experiences like this. They're going to want to come back. So then mom and dad come back, and it just goes on and on.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Great experiences. So, nope, that's
great story.
That's so
feel good story. And we need it. We need it.
Great feel good stories and music happened yesterday when the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee class of 2022 was announced. Bang, like Aaron Judge, they hit it out of the park. And it's such a feel good list. You know why? Because I think in a lot of cases, first timers like Eminem is a bold choice. And I'm not saying because he didn't deserve it. I mean, because he did deserve it. But often if you're not like in the cool class, like the easy choice. Are you saying Eminem's
not cool?
Not to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't think so. I don't think to the normal staid Rock and Roll Hall of Fame of the Bob Segers and Van Halens and anybody that pushed the envelope a little bit, usually you got to wait a little bit. No, he went in right away. Pat Benatar had to wait a long time. Now she makes it in.
Now she's in.
Yeah.
To your point of Eminem, though, look at Dolly Parton.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like that is outside the box.
That's what I mean. This is such a good class.
I wouldn't call it the cool box, but There is someone who I don't think anybody would have thought would be inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Least of all, Dolly Parton.
Nashville, country, absolutely, maybe even pop, but not rock and roll. And she even said, if it stops somebody else, if I take someone else's spot, don't include me. Well, clearly they want her, so she's in. But I wonder with Eminem if the Super Bowl didn't have some effect in it.
Timing,
some pull.
right? Timing.
Because that was a great show. We can all agree. And I think that really put him on a different stage, put him in a different light for a lot of people. But yes, Pat Benatar, Duran Duran,
Eurythmics, huge from the 80s.
I'm surprised weren't in there before now, but great to see them going in. Lionel Richie.
Again, there's not the cool, like Neil Diamond had to wait, like not rock and roll. Hey, don't get behind Lionel Richie in the bank line. The man has made a boatload of cash. Carly Simon.
That was,
same thing. Boatload of cash. And not quote unquote rock and rollers, but that's what I mean. Like, this class is so full of so many iconic performers and songs that they're recognizing it as a music hall of fame.
Well, and I don't know that it comes down to money. Maybe it does. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's more about their contribution.
Sure.
And everyone on that list, I would say, certainly has definitely contributed.
Judas Priest, for example. Judas
they're
Priest
being honored with the Musical Excellence Award. So some pretty big, influential names this year.
Coming up early November
5th. Yeah.
5th. And that's going to be a great show. That'll be
It'll
tremendous
be on
show.
HBO Max, I think, is streaming it. HBO and HBO Max will be streaming it.
Yeah. And then the other part of that is, as a music fan, in order to even be considered on a ballot for induction to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it must be 25 years from the release of your first recording.
Oh.
That's how. So when you hear Eminem.
Oh my gosh.
How old are we? So you start judging when you hear first-time balloters, somebody who played after you went to university. It's like, oh no.
Oh my gosh.
How old am I now?
Wow.
It's just sinking in, Charity, eh? Oh my God.
I'm not quite there, but pretty close.
Oh
pretty close.
It's like.
But yeah, you're right. Eminem, 25 years.
25 years, 1997.
Wow.
So then you look back, somebody like Carly Simon's been around for 50 years.
And the Eurythmics and Duran Duran,
would not have been thought of as rock and roll. Again, Dolly Parton wouldn't have been thought, like when it was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I still question that. Don't get me wrong. I love Dolly, and I think she deserves every award there is out there. But I question that decision. I really do. Not that she hasn't been influential. Of course she's been influential on music. As a whole, I would say. It's a tough one.
There is I'm not even going to call it a movement, because movement implies that somebody's going to do something about it. There is a discussion that they did themselves a great disservice when they called it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It went into Cleveland because that's where the term rock and roll developed. Alan Freed, the DJ, called this new type of music rock and roll. So they wanted that word because it was attached to Cleveland, and this Hall of Fame was in Cleveland. But what they found is, when we call it rock and roll, they find that the people they want to induct start questioning, well, they're not rock and roll. So all of a sudden it's like, oops, like we want them in here because they're influential to music, pop culture, which is what we want people to come visit this museum for. We thought rock and roll would be great. We didn't think people would argue, well, what is rock and roll?
Exactly, because it has changed so much through the years.
So when you start looking at, would you call Eminem rock and roll?
You're right. No.
So they thought, well, when it was the Beatles and the Rolling Stones going in, sure.
Absolutely, rock and roll.
This new thing called rock and roll.
It's not the same as what it was.
Can you change the name? You don't want to call it the pop music, but what do you call it?
Exactly. And you can't change the name now. That's what it's known for. That's to rebrand
you buy the T-shirts? No.
You can't rebrand the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Maybe they can put in brackets underneath in smaller font.
Yeah. Or we can just
Hall of Fame.
Or we can just all understand what it means now. That we don't have to agree what is rock and roll to agree that the people in there are so influential to the music we hear today.
I think that's a better description. These are influential.
Then let's make it so, Charity.
These are influential musicians. And not even musicians. Not all of them are musicians either. Some of them, like the music, they're in there for writing, they're in there for producing, just music in general.
And I just cannot wait for the 2036 induction of Ed Sheeran. Stuff like that. I'm sure he won't even be that long, because that would make it 2010. So no, oh my gosh, he would probably be 5 or 6 years. Or Adele.
Adele has been out since, what did I say this morning? Her first one came out.
Today's her birthday. Happy birthday, Adele.
Yeah, she was 30. Her first album was 19.
19, so she's 11 in. So it's only 14 more years.
And Sheeran wouldn't be much behind.
2036 will be Adele. Won't be long.
Wow.
25 years sounds like a lot.
In our lifetime.
We've reached Eminem, everybody.
I am pretty excited about that one. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty excited for him.
And final thing, if you're listening to this afternoon after 3 o'clock, my son and I will be at Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness.
How do you feel going to see that?
I am exactly like this. I am enjoying going to the movie with my son.
So you're not worried about...
I'm going to go with a movie that he really wants to see. And if I can't follow it because I didn't watch WandaVision, so be it. It's still a great $14, $15 bucks in 3D.
And that's what Marvel's so nice. Jimmy's rundown of it this morning, I
kind of panned it. Not only did he pan it, he backed the other people. I'm not criticizing him.
I'm not agreeing with anything he says.
Yeah,
when it comes to this film.
Because he says, like, don't read the New York Post and the LA Times, because they just
They say it's awful and it's this or that. Well, I'm sorry, Jimmy, you didn't think it was going to make more than 50. Spider-Man was going to make more than 50 million.
Yeah.
When it comes to Marvel films, I have a hard time taking his word. I think you will enjoy it. I do. But I wonder, I'm curious to know, we'll talk tomorrow about it, because I am curious to know if you are confused by any of it. Because I know watching Doctor Strange, the first one, as I said to you yesterday, it's my least favorite because it is so all over the place.
Right.
You really have to.
And different.
It's very different. He's playing with time, and he's playing with time and different. It's called the Multiverse of Madness. So there's a lot of elements to it. So I'm curious to get your reaction tomorrow on it.
I'm looking forward to it, and I haven't seen WandaVision, and I haven't seen Loki, and apparently everything's so much better. You will follow it so much better if you watch both of those series.
And they're both really good series.
And I bet they are.
On their own, they're great.
I don't have nearly enough time to watch them all today.
No, you don't. You can't. You have no time before the movie to watch them.
You're planned this so badly.
You need a multiverse to go back in time and
madness,
watch them.
Charity. So we got a lot going on tomorrow. We'll have our grand prize winner for the week in Galaxy of Games with the dad joke about mom tomorrow. And then I've got some momism jokes for later on in the show.
Oh, good.
Including a young recruit was asked on their application form, what would you do if you had to arrest your mother?
Oh, police recruit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the answer he wrote down was call for backup. So if all these lines about...
Smart kid.
Because if I went in...
smart young person.
Mom, put your hands behind your back. You better get back up.
What'd you say to me? I don't think so. You put your hands behind your back.
Get in there and clean your room. Get home for supper on time. Anyway, some great momisms for Mother's Day coming up as we wrap up the week and head into the Mother's Day weekend. It's Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast. Wherever you get your favorite podcast, we've got it weekdays up by 11 o'clock, 15 or 20 minutes on what we talked about on the morning show. Be sure and subscribe, and you can get the little ding to let you know when we've uploaded. Talk to you tomorrow morning on 95.5 Hits FM.